VoxWork.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the VoxWork podcast. I am your host, Asmogan, and these are my co-hosts.
I'm Nathan X2000. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you, gentlemen, for having me again.
And I am Nico40k. Always a pleasure to be among such wonderful gentlemen, and it's good to be back.
Of course. Love both of you gentlemen, and thank you for coming. Much appreciated. So today we have three lovely topics for you lovely folks. The first one is non-40k slash Warhammer games that capture the grimdark vibe of Warhammer.
Should I be the one, considering I'm the one who prepared for this topic?
May God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, you're the one that took like fucking 10 minutes before we started recording. It's like, ooh, I'm on this big rabbit hole. Come on, mister, show me the rabbit. I want to see what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So, the one that has absolutely gripped me, as well as just, capturing the grimdark feel, is Mutant Chronicles. And also the fact that it also has a miniature game called Warzone. And I've prepared a little script, just so to cover the basics.
Yes, get on with it!
I'll just read it now. Warzone, Mutant Chronicles miniature spin-off game. Created by Target Games in February of 1993, Sweden. The original techno-future post-apocalypse pen and paper role-playing game was made as a successor of their mutant RPG game. The premise is the fact that this game was made in the 90s, so you have mega corporations, mutants, cosmic evil, warfare, space, a bit of outdated commentary, heavy metal, post-apocalyptic aesthetic, the works. But the actual setting is a distant future, where Earth is mostly a nuclear...
You can't say nuclear? That really scares me.
...desert, and humanity has spread to the world of Luna. Basically, they've moved throughout their solar system, and some of them are actually moving now. Well, have moved now.
Sometimes a brain can come in quite handy.
Out of solar system. And they have spread themselves into a couple of worlds. So, for example, the first one that they published, the first one they settled was Luna, which is, of course, the moon. Home base of the Brotherhood, pro-humanity church, and allies of the Inquisition.
What the fuck is going on there?
Yes. And Cybertronic, cybernetic masterminds, and 40 stock exchange wizards. They've also managed to absolutely colonize and also terraform other planets, such as Venus, which is home base of the Bauhaus, who are mostly Europe, primarily German and Scandinavians. And of course, you have Mars, which is home base of Capital, which is North, Central, and Latin America. So, Asmo, you're gonna feel right at home. Mercury, which is home base of Mishima, which are mostly Japanese with a bit of token Asians here and there. And the Astro Belt, home base of Imperial, which is basically the British Isles. Now bear in mind, all these names, Imperial, Mishima, Capital, and all and so forth, these are all mega corporations because this is still made in the 90s. So of course you're gonna have a bunch of that.
I saw a corpse strip farmers of water, and eventually of land. Saw them transform Night City into a machine fueled by people's crushed spirits, broken dreams, and emptied pockets. Corps have long controlled our lives, taken lots, and now they're after our souls. I've declared war not because capitalism's a thorn in my side or out of nostalgia for an America gone by. This war's a people's war against a system that spiraled out of our control. It's a war against the fucking forces of entropy. Understand?
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
As Luigi Mangione, the 26-year-old who was last night arrested and charged with murder after being on the run from police since the deadly shooting of a health insurance boss.
Now, Earth is, like I said, a nuclear desert, but there are still some people that live, such as the White Star, which are Russians, basically. Now, the cosmic feel, the cosmic evil bit, is the fact that the greatest enemy of humanity is called the Dark Legion, which is, I would almost describe them a little bit as chaos, a little bit.
Just a bit outside.
And though, of course, you don't have like the 4 gods of chaos, you only have one that, which is so funny, called the Dark Soul, that rules over it. It basically is an influence on the material world, even though it doesn't live in ours. So let me just actually post a couple of pictures to really show you just it not only captures the 40k, the Grimdark feel of it all. It just,
been looking at the screenshots as you've been describing it, and it's very reminiscent of 40k. Like, it is pretty much on the, it's very on the nose.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes, that is pretty much
rad.
It looks rad. And remember, okay, so before the beginning of the recording, I said that one of the main artists of this series is actually a veteran of Judge Dredd. Well, basically, I meant to say the 2000 AD comic book series. Simon Bisley, who has also done Warhammer art. Oh, it's awesome. I love it. It's mostly humans, though there are mutants.
No shit.
And there are, yeah, this is the most 90s things you'll probably ever find. So that is my answer to something that captures the Grimdark feel.
Yeah, damn, you came in swinging with one hell of an answer. This is really cool, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess I keep swinging whenever I'm prepared. It's usually when I don't, when I stumble a bit.
I mean, I'm just curious. Do you know how the game is played, or?
I do not know personally how the game is played, because it's not, how do I best put this? It's not as prominent as, say, 40k or the like. Now, the franchise as a whole it's still, yeah, like I said, it still survives. It's not as extreme. There is, funny enough, there is been a couple of attempts with video games. One that was in the 90s, which isn't that great. It's like a side-scroller thing. Guarantee you, most people are likely not going to know this, but there was actually an independent film that was created based on the setting called just Mutant Chronicles. And I kid you not, it starred Thomas Jane, Punisher from the 2004, Ron Perlman. Yeah. And all
I
that.
am literally looking at the cover. It stars Ron Perlman, but then
Ron
again,
Perlman was in
me.
fucking
Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, that doesn't surprise me because Ron Perlman is almost like Nicolas Cage. He just stars in whatever the fuck he can find.
Hey,
yes.
Like, I think the most famous case from, especially from like the 90s and stuff and it lasted for years because he did the voice over for several of them. But the Fallout franchise, he was there for Fallout 1, 2, 3. I think the only one he didn't do in those throughout the franchise before 4 was New Vegas, and then after that he stopped doing like the voiceover narration of War. War never changes.
Well, he actually did do it in New Vegas, luckily. So that's good.
Oh, right, because after like the Benny shoot. No.
Yeah.
Yep.
What can I say? Man's a seasoned actor and voice actor.
Mm-hmm. If only he would just quit Twitter. I would. That would be a dream.
But very loosely related to this topic, he was also one of my favorite like side roles he ever did was in the second Blade film. If you guys have seen it.
Oh yeah. Funny enough, that movie was so successful. They're actually depending on that success to make Hellboy. Like, if Blade 2 was a success, they would be able... Del Toro would be allowed to make Hellboy. And I'm glad that it was. It was beyond a success.
Fantastic.
Also, he is my favorite voice actor for Deathstroke, also known as Slade in the Teen Titans.
True. Yes, that was... Ron Perlman has been at some of the best points in our media.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that one sequence in season 4 where he is, where literally Raven has frozen time, and he's just like, there is nothing you can do to stop it. It's just like the presence and everything. But anyway, yeah, that's my answer. Mutant Chronicles.
Oh, awesome. Came on swinging. Nathan, do you want to go next, or should I?
I'll go next. So the question: non-40k Warhammer/Warhammer games that capture the Grimdark vibe. I didn't think you meant capture the Grimdark vibe of. You don't mean specifically 40k, do you? You just mean Grimdark in general.
Yes, Grimdark in general, like that same overbearing, dark, kind of like a hopeless setting.
Oh shit! Fucking easy answer then. So easy.
Already.
Oh.
I'm guessing you gentlemen have played it. Asmogan, you grew up. Well, you two grew up in the same FPS Xbox 360 shooters that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Spec Ops: The Line.
Open your eyes, Walker. We've been set up.
Welcome to hell, Walker.
Oh, yes. Yes, you did. You got it.
Yeah, Spec Ops: The
Line.
For
that's a good one.
Yeah, so
Great
for
game.
people in the audience who are listening who are below the age of 20, there was a game that came out called Spec Ops: The Line back when Call of Duty shooters, Battlefield shooters were basically at their peak. Now, Spec Ops: The Line didn't sell as well as those because it was like why would you go to that game when you had Black Ops, when you had Modern Warfare, when you had Battlefield? Because they were sort of like the big dogs of the shooter. This is just another shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Spec Ops: The Line, basically, when people then started to play it, they were like, holy fuck, this is completely different to the other games. Because the other games was like, yeah, we're big bad soldiers and we kill shit and there's espionage and intrigue and political discourse and yeah, we shoot people, we drive big tanks, we drive big planes, we bomb the shit of our enemy. Spec Ops: The Line slaps you in the face. It's like, this is war, fuckface.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No. Like, were you enjoying yourself? Were you enjoying yourself playing those other games? Sit down.
I'm gonna cut into the podcast episode here real quick. This is editing Asmo here. The rest of the episode is not going to be edited to the level at this point. It's all going to go a bit more simpler from here on out, more akin to our normal podcast episodes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that level I put in, but everything you've seen up till now has taken me 2 months to do. Granted, part of that has been because of, PT and trying to get ready for military service, which, update on that, I don't get to go. My disqualification from MEPS has been held up. And my waiver, didn't work out, unfortunately. This point in the podcast episode, there's been a lot. It's taken a lot. Lots of minute shit. But I can't do the full 2 hours plus we recorded for this episode. As it is, we're 2 months late. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you enjoyed it. And enjoy the rest of the podcast is more of the traditional.
Commit war crimes and feel something.
Well, hang on, Nico. You're blowing the load too quickly.
Yeah, so you're wrong.
As you play Spec Ops: The Line, that feeling of being this badass soldier and that you've got the feel from all the other games slowly starts to go away, because as the main character you get dropped into Dubai that had been completely ass blasted by a colossal sandstorm to fight an insurgency. I think it was an insurgency.
Yes.
And the more people you kill and the more areas you travel, the more the sins of your actions start to bear on your psyche, to the point where you start hallucinating dead people. And it's not just hallucinations as well. You are actually seeing war crimes in front of your face. You are seeing the remnants of firing squads, people being left outside to be, like I said, ass blasted by the sandstorms, dying of starvation, dying of thirst, dying of complete and utter friction blasted skin being shredded away. to the point there is absolutely no hope whatsoever. Even the endings themselves, of which there are 4, and only one ending is the best possible thing you could possibly do in the game. One of them is you kill yourself. One of them is you kill your friend, and then by killing your friend, you then Oh, actually, wait, no. The next ending is you submit to go to a patrol, nearby military patrol. And then from then, there's the 2 other endings. You either kill the enemy patrol people because you went through the entire game like, what the fuck were we actually doing here? Like, this wasn't taking down an insurgency. We were just killing civilians. And the next one is then submitting to the insurgency, which is the only ending where you kind of live, but you then sort of spend the entire ending sort of like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? Because this is what they did to civilians. What the hell are they gonna do to me? I've seen all these war crimes. What the hell am I gonna do? Like, how are they gonna treat it? How are they gonna treat me? That could be a colossal whistleblower. If they're out killing civilians in the middle of Dubai, the fuck are they gonna do to me? Like, are they gonna send me to like Guantanamo or like send me to a black site? And in that sense, in my opinion, it ultimately catches the feeling of Grimdark, because as you start to learn about the settings, you lose all sense of superiority, all sense of morality and ethics. You question the very forces of who's commanding you. You question the very reasons why you're there. You've killed innocent people. You killed insurgents. Like, the orders that you take from the US military at that point, because they're telling you to kill the insurgents, you even start doubting who the fuck the US military take orders from and to what their motives are, because they're the only ones that are giving you intel. And there's even like infighting between the group. So not only is the hopelessness from the meta aspect of the ruling forces of the insurgency of Dubai and the US military, but there's also the micro, like I mentioned in like Space Marine 2, there's the meta and the micro storytelling. Well, in this, there's also meta and micro. The micro side is the doubt amongst your squad mates, and like I said, as one of the endings, you basically kill one of your squad mates. He's the only one left. So if that isn't a whole, like, well, you know, oh, you thought you were going to be this big badass soldier, didn't you? Well, fuck you. I'm going to make you feel emotions. I'm going to kill everything you love, and I'm going to make you question your morality. If I had a shooter game that you thought was, ooh, I'm going to go in, I'm going to be this big badass soldier, well, you'd be fucking dead wrong. That's why I picked Spec Ops The Line, because it is bleak, it is horrible, and it's a really good fucking game. I really suggest you play it. It's a really good gameplay, but with an actual hidden story. Like, this, the story blindsides you. Nothing about the beginning or nothing about the presentation of the trailers of the box art ever suggests that it'd be this sort of harrowing moral dilemma. It's just, ooh, shooty people in the sand. Ooh, like very topical shooter of like the 2000s. Or most shooters were. It was either Russians or the Middle East.
Oh, yeah, it was a golden nugget.
It was, indeed.
Because I remember at the time, a lot of people thought it was going to be like a Call of Duty clone.
Yeah.
Effectively. What it ended up being was so much cooler. And this is a very surface level observation about the game, but one I think that a lot of people overlook. Spec Ops Line is the perfect example of a game that can establish a grimdark tone without being comically underlit and dark. Like, visually dark. Like, throughout the game, you're in a very desert, daytime, very sunny, bright location. Like, they do not put you in these comically dark and like edgy scenery. That's actually kind of one of the things that I liked most about like 40K back when I was first getting into it and I was looking at the old artwork back in the day. Is all the oldest artwork of 40K from like the 80s and 90s, right? Is really bright colors for a lot of it. Especially the old box arts. Really bright colors, like these bright red armor, the old school art, very, very bright and saturated. But it was
grimdark. It kind of came off as campy though sometimes, didn't it? With like the bright colored Eldar.
Oh, yeah.
Shit like that.
Yeah, some of it was like that, yeah. But despite that appearance of like bright, very vibrant, the dark tone, the dark setting and universe made itself known. That didn't matter how visually it presented itself. If you actually knew it and understood it, it was such a poignant and such an impactful story and setting. And that's definitely the case with Spec Ops Line. It shows that you don't have to be dark, like literally dark, to make a dark and impactful and grim story. And unfortunately, one of the things I think a lot of developers and writers, not like even if we just go into novels and stuff, or comic books, one thing that they commonly do to try and make their stories artificially grimdark is they just try and paint everything in monotone colors or describe everything in like darkness and low lighting. Honestly, in my opinion, that's a cheap way to capture like a dark vibe. I think the best way to do it is if your aim is to be grimdark and to make that kind of emotionally like weighted feeling, if anything, make it visually bright, because when people walk away, as we walked away from Spec Ops: The Line feeling like almost depressed. Like, if your story actually like has that kind of staying power and it actually achieves that narratively, it doesn't matter how you visually present it. I really, if anything, like the contrast between the bright visuals to the dark story. That's like my kind of preference, and I think a lot more grimdark stories should stop leaning on like the visual dark and just make the narrative dark. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons as to why it was so impactful at the time, because like I said, this was during the time where shooters were, like I said before, it was either the Russians or it was terrorists in the Middle East. Like there was no other enemies back then for like shooters like mid 2000s. But I think the reason it hit home a lot is because at the time, like the war in the Middle East was still like fresh in everyone's mind, and there was reports coming out. There was even courts and tribunals held of people actually witnessing and testifying against war crimes that people in the US military were doing. And Spec Ops: The Line sort of reignited that in people's heads. It's a very real setting that in war, whoever the fuck you think are the good guys are not really the good guys. Like, humans are still human. Put them in the right situation and they will try and get away with the most reprehensible shit if it benefits them. And I'll say that's not throwing shade at the US military. It's because that's present in all militaries.
Oh no, that's a reality. That's a reality all people need to accept is human beings, no matter what their position, and in fact in some positions especially, are capable of doing some really horrific shit, and you should never be so blindsided by I love the military and I respect the military, and the vast majority of the men and women who serve are good people that want to serve and protect their communities and their countries. They're there for noble purposes the vast majority of the time. But there are always going to be people amongst them that are perfectly capable, and some of them, sadly, are perfectly happy to do horrific things to achieve certain goals. And sometimes, arguably, it is the right move, depending on the alternative. It's like, okay, if we don't do this horrible act, what will happen instead? But that being said, there's plenty of times where the circumstance doesn't necessarily call for the evil that sometimes is committed. So people do need to be aware that though you may love the military and respect the military, and those who are in it, you also need to be fully aware that they can do evil and can do bad. So it's a nuanced thing. People need to be aware of the nuances of both the real world and also fiction, of course. But
Yep.
Yeah. So no, it's perfectly fine to point out that's history. That's just fact.
And that was one of the things that makes Spec Ops Line because it came out around a time where more of those things was because it kind of started like you didn't really hear much about the Allies being prosecuted after like World War II, but then when Vietnam rolled around, there was a lot more sort of court hearings about people abusing their power and doing unnecessary evil over there. And then come the time in the Middle East where there was a lot more sort of media. Fucking hell. Like, that shit was bleak. And this was like when I was like a kid, so this was like most of this went over my head, but when I started playing Spec Ops: The Line as I got older, kind of sort of maybe like sit there and depress and go, Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's my pick for the Grimdark
Damn good pick.
topic.
Damn
yeah.
good pick.
Thank you very much.
I think mine.
Right, go on as well.
I'd like to say I'm saving best for last, but honestly, I think Nathan had a better pick. For me, I kind of have two to cheat a little bit. So,
That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, the two I have. One is what I've been streaming lately, and I'm only reasserting this. But Path of Exile 2, I've been streaming it lately, and I'm almost at the end of Act 1 in the game, and it is very grimdark so far. Like, not only in the delivery of the backstory and the actual setting, but also in the active events you're playing through. It is very grimdark. Like, one of the last things I saw in my last session of playing was an executioner lopping the head off of some innocent guy, his head falling on a giant pile of other heads, covered in gore and viscera. And you get to that scene after going through a village full of little babies that run up at you and blow themselves up to try and kill you because they've been cursed by blood magic. It's fucked. And the thing is, it's not even just cheap horror. Like, all these things are just kind of thrown together with no justification. The setting lore is really grim and dark. But that's one example. I think one... let me pull it up. Oh, crap. So, the one I had prepped for today, outside of just mentioning that one, because that's obviously a new game, so obviously Nico and Nathan are less familiar with it. So, the other one I had in mind was... And it's less grimdark overall. It's closer to dark fantasy, but I'm still going to use it because I think it's close enough, certainly at times. Dragon Age, specifically Dragon Age Origins.
Yes.
Yeah, Dragon Age is a very dark fantasy setting, especially with the events that you play through, obviously, in Origins and all the way through Inquisition and 2. The setting is very gory, is very rough and tumble, and I'd say it's a little bit more hardcore in some ways than Game of Thrones even is. Game of Thrones I wouldn't call grimdark. I'd call that a dark fantasy as well. But it's less... I would argue Dragon Age is less of a cringe grimdark fantasy. I mean, throughout the setting, when the setting first establishes itself, it seems like it's going to be a Lord of the Rings style story, right? We have a clear-cut bad guy and a clear-cut good guy. But then you actually start any of the playthroughs and you realize there's actually way more to it than that. It's like, yes, you do have a cookie-cutter bad guy in I just had their name on my thing on my lips. Fuck.
Was it Darkspawn? No.
No, it's Darkspawn. You're right. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
So you have your cookie cutter bad guy in the form of the Darkspawn, where they're presented in the initial games as kind of like the orcs from Lord of the Rings, where they're this malignant, evil, other non-human force that wear armor, and they collect in armies, and they cut up and murder, and they kill civilians. They're very much a cookie cutter bad guy, and then you have like elves, dwarves, and humans fighting together to fight them. No matter which race you jump into, though, you realize that like humans are in some ways worse than the Darkspawn themselves because they enslave the elves and they mistreat them. They also have a huge issue with like their nobility, abusing those below them. There's torture, sacrificing infants. And then there's the whole thing with magic, like similar to Warhammer. The magic in this world can actually potentially lead to demonic possession, and it's the whole setting of Dragon Age is very much, again, it's not 100% grimdark, but I think it catches the vibe very, very well at times, especially if you play through the game and choose some of the more darker options. It hits the grimdark tone very, very well. So Dragon Age, for me, I think is a game that captures, maybe not to the same extent that Warhammer 40k does, but it's definitely on par with Warhammer Fantasy in terms of a grimdark setting.
So you must have really loved Veilguard.
No, fuck you. Choke yourself.
I will say that.
Bitch.
You don't tell me what I identify as.
Oh, God.
I will say it's like it is night and day difference. Like nothing happens in that game. Nothing memorable. People like you don't have slavery. You don't have a dark a looming presence that you really that just goes over your head. It's just like oh, can I really even do anything in this? No. Just
all of the substance, all of what made Dragon Age such a badass dark fantasy, murdered in Veilguard.
Some would argue even a bit before that.
I mean, Inquisition definitely already started doing like the more heroic, like less darkness stuff. Yeah, but nowhere near. Like there was still some of that. There was definitely not a like we've gone too far, we can't turn back line, right? There was not that. Like Inquisition, you still could go back to the extra dark stuff established in Origins. From where they've gone in Veilguard, where the fuck do you like? I'm sorry. No matter how great the next Dragon Age game is, if they ever try and make another one, no matter how much it captures Origins, no matter how much it captures even 2, even though people hate like me don't love 2, even if it goes back to that tone, people aren't gonna forget Veilguard. Hell, I just went over the most badass parts of Dragon Age Origins, and you, in a single mention of Veilguard, have already robbed me of all my enthusiasm.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
It's the facts. Like they've killed it.
Yes. So would you say that's the first topic then?
Yeah, that would be the first topic.
I would say it's the first topic, and talking about Spec Ops: The Line has actually wanted me to play it again. So I went to Steam, and guess what? It's been delisted from Steam.
No.
Are you kidding? Wait a minute. Hang on. I need to see.
No, it's been delisted from Steam, but the reason is even fucking dumber.
Oh. Okay.
Guess why?
Why?
No, it's not. It's not for uwu political reason.
Okay,
kill
God.
bad people. Oh no, it's dumber than that. Trust me.
Okay.
So the reason it's been delisted is apparently there is a national anthem in the game which is sung by Jimi Hendrix, but because 2K lost the license for Jimi Hendrix's version of the national anthem, the game has been put into license limbo, therefore Steam can't sell it.
Oh!
Because of a fucking license of a dead guy who sung the national anthem.
That is retarded. Okay, well, luckily I already bought the game, so at the very least I can download it. But like, that's retarded.
I don't want to call like Jimi Hendrix like just a dead guy. Like he's a very legendary musician, but he's dead. It's a song. The national anthem, the big song of the United States, and because somebody lost a license to that, the game got delisted. Well, although I will say, for the audiences who know the places that I do, I am currently halfway acquiring the game via certain means.
Yo.
Well, to be fair, I'm fully willing to pay full money for the game. If you're going to delist it for retarded reasons, I'm going to sail the seas.
True, and I don't blame anybody. That's the thing I think everyone could agree on is like it's not morally wrong to buy something if they're not selling it. Like if you're not selling it properly, if you're not physically willing, like buying a product, selling a product, and someone goes out of their way to acquire that product without you. You can't be unhappy when they acquire it without you. It's like, you're not selling it.
I mean, it kind of reminds me also, not necessarily the same, but it's just like when companies get mad that someone downloads like abandonware. It's like, you're not making any money off the license, so why the fuck are you even... It's like, are you even mad?
My Abandonware is still a very good website. I would recommend a lot of you check it out because there's a lot of games. I'm surprised it is still on there, like all the old Dynasty Warrior games and the Samurai Warrior games. Like, because it's not on in GOG, it's not on Steam, and even on 2K's website, it brings up a 404. So I've checked, nowhere sells it. So I'm sorry, but I want to enjoy the game that a bunch of people made, and just because they lost the license to like a fucking national anthem, it's not gonna stop me.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't. That is
Jesus fucking Christ, that screenshot.
That.
What the fuck?
Oh.
Know my pain. Okay.
All right.
All right. Second topic is being brought to us by Nico. So Nico would be the one to introduce it.
The return of Warhammer fan animations. And this is something I actually really am glad because, well, for potentially those who were not aware of the situation back in the day, though it wasn't that long ago. Back in the day, there were some 40k fan animations that were just exploding into popularity on YouTube, right? And that's that is one of the greatest way to really get people into it, is because, you know, it's free marketing, right? It's from the hard work of the people themselves, and they're not really trying to sell it, right? They're just trying to make something awesome, and it serves as a really great way to get people into 40k, right? I think everyone should relatively agree with that.
Plus, they're not stealing revenue, so there should literally be no downside for the IP holders.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you'd think, wouldn't you?
You would think that, yeah. But then, of course, came the Warhammer Plus subscription service, which also had Warhammer animations. And so they began acquiring a bunch of 40k animators, or threatening legal action, like wanting to shut down. This got so bad that what was his name again? The man who did If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device.
Alpha Boosa.
Alpha Boosa, right, Alpha Boosa. Even he posted a video that he wouldn't want to put his his family in jeopardy with legal costs. And so he moved on into Vampire the Masquerade, because they're not as they're not as enlightened as Games Workshop is, quote unquote. But yes, anyway, so the Warhammer Plus subscription is what's the best word? Lame. Very, very lame.
Lame and underwhelming as all hell.
Yeah, it's not really worth the few bucks, you know. However, luckily, right now, there have been 40k animations returning, such as the one that you reacted to, Asmo. The Steel Coffin. And man, let me just tell you, I am so glad I recommended you this, because, yeah, sure, it's spotty in places, but it is, you can see there is effort. And that's the thing.
The flaws are incredibly minor. And thank you for recommending those, by the way. Those were very entertaining. I'm excited to see where they go from it. But yeah, that actually surprised me that there are people so actively making. I thought the reactions you were asked were really old, were before a lot of the fan animations got taken down from YouTube by GW, and they all had that ominous message, copy and pasted message across several channels, including Astartes and Sodaz, saying that they were going to be working with. Didn't they say the exact same shit in a couple of videos?
Yeah,
where
they
just
did.
had some text.
Yeah.
That's still some creepy, eerie shit to this day. It's just they all had the same copy and paste text that they had come on a single video where it just opacity'd in, opacity'd out, and that was it. That's still so sinister. That's how you know that there were some legal threats made.
It almost felt like the Borg, didn't it? Like they all got fucking assimilated and they all started saying the same shit.
That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah. And it's just I feel, and in the same way, I feel bad for the animators that were acquired, because yes, I mean, you were acquired, but the quality is it was up and down. It was not consistent. Hammer and Bolter, ugh.
To be
But
fair,
then you had stuff.
Yeah, to be fair on the Hammer and Bolter point, I think Hammer and Bolter was one of the few that was original, quote unquote, to Warhammer Plus, where they hired people to do that one. The fan animations that were taken and were legally captured, again, we don't technically have proof of that, but we have proof of that, was the Exodite for example. That was a fan made. It was a fan made project that was supposed to be on free on YouTube. It was part of their Patreon campaign, and mysteriously out of nowhere, they're like, "Oh no, we're going to Warhammer Plus." Astartes, that was originally free on YouTube for anyone to see. Most legendary case, taken down completely, except for people who re-uploaded it.
And whose sequel is supposed to be... Wait, isn't it supposed to be out?
I haven't seen anything. Last time I heard about it was announced. I've not a single clip I've seen from it if it came out.
I mean, to be fair, like, how long did it take to make Astartes when it's usually like one guy?
It took him like at least 8 months to release a few-minute clip. But the thing is, one of the like arguments for the fan animators being acquired by Warhammer and being put on Warhammer Plus, one of the arguments people made to defend GW for was like, oh, well, GW will give them a team, will give them a budget, you know, they'll actually support them. Anyone like me or like us, I would hope, who's been around and been fans of 40K for any period of time at all, would know that that's not how GW operates. They don't acquire things and make them better. They're not Disney. They acquire things usually through nefarious means. They didn't buy. It's not like they bought out studios, which is how a lot of people were acting like they did. Like, oh, they just bought out Astartes. Like, no, they threatened him with legal action. You don't take down your free shit on YouTube if it was some kind of like mutual agreement.
Yeah. If GW was going to buy something and then sort of improve upon it and give them the full team, they would have left the original episode on YouTube. All they would have said is, hey, could you re-upload it, but include a message at the end saying GW is now funding the rest of the series, go watch it there. But obviously the first episode would then remain free for all the people that supported it.
Yeah.
Yep. This is GW corporate. Resistance is futile.
So, yeah,
fucking bastards. Like absolute bastards.
This is one of the more clear cut. There's a lot of cases GW's done greedy, terrible, and horrific shit. They are the EA of tabletop gaming. But yeah, like a lot of people tried to, even though this is one of the more universal cases where most people agree it was a nefarious legal fair situation where they were using threat of legal action for their IP usage to strong arm Simon Peterson, who's the guy who created Astartes, by the way, strong arm him into working for them and making Astartes 2. And given that Astartes 2, we haven't even seen like it's been like what, 2 years now. So like even if we, because I don't believe GW gave him a budget or a team. I believe legally they have to be paying him, right? Probably nowhere near what he was making on his Patreon. Because I'll tell you this, as a former patron of Simon Peterson's, when I was on there, like the minimum tier I was on was $5, and that was what most people were on. And he had over
that motherfucker must have been making a mint.
Oh yeah, he had like 3,000 patrons, I think, is what he had when I was in there. Yeah, $5 a pop. Like, and granted, there were tiers above $5. There were plenty of people giving him way more than that. So, but even at minimum, the guy was raking in per month, I think, what a lot of people will make per year at their salary jobs. So that's why, like, the argument, oh, GW will pay the animators and give them a budget. Give him more than what he was getting on for Patreon? You're telling me GW is paying this guy more than the 6 figures he was making for Patreon? Fuck off. Like, there's no way they're paying him that much. So, yeah. The fact that we haven't seen anything, the creepy We Are the Borg kind of vibe that we got from his takedown, and also Sodaz's takedown, and we know Sodaz didn't end up working for them, so if they have the same message, it's proof that it was a legal threat.
It was a very weak argument to suggest, like, oh, well, GW must be paying them. Yeah, but are they paying him and allowing him to go on? Are they hiring his talent, or are they hiring his silence?
They're hiring his silence. Yeah, and we haven't seen anything from Astartes 2. Again, like that, all like, obviously, this is all just theory. We don't know.
There is there is speculation
There's
that
speculation, there's circumstantial evidence, but we don't know.
Yeah, I think the only substantial theory is that he went on to be like a trailer animator for them, because like you have the Horus Heresy tabletop trailer, which
yeah, it has some telltale signs of Sama's, because Sama Peterson likes to use motion blur, but not like the same as like a lot of studios do for like commercials and stuff. He uses it very carefully in like certain like movements, like when like in running motions and stuff like that. He doesn't do like a general motion blur. He does like specific, like there's little tidbits of his animation techniques people kind of pegged out of the Horus Heresy trailer. So it's more than likely GW did hire him and pay him to do that trailer. We don't know, because GW, for some reason, and it's even evidence on Warhammer Plus, they feel ill about crediting the people who work on their shit.
Amazing.
Like it's weird. I don't know if they fixed that, but I know in the first few episodes of Hammer and Bolter, like the credits at the end of it had like 7 names. And I don't think that's the full list of people who were involved. So I don't know what was happening there. If it was just laziness and they didn't bother to credit everybody, or if they intentionally were asked not to credit their names. I don't know. But GW are weird about that, and they, despite the fact that people have asked the official Warhammer accounts on social media, like, hey, did Simon Peterson like make the Horus Heresy trailer? As far as I've seen, they never confirmed nor denied. And I don't know why they wouldn't give him credit. I mean, you've already strong-armed him into working for you. At least give the man credit. So, again, something weird is going on in the background, because 2 years or so it's been, we haven't seen even a trailer for Astartes 2. At least I haven't. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
I am sure as shit the moment there's a trailer for a new Astartes episode, given the communities we're in, it'll be front fucking page. Like all of the 40k discords will basically light up in unison. Like the beacons all the way to Gondor will just be like new Astartes episode,
and the fan base will answer.
Yeah, dude. Astartes calls for likes, and we will answer.
Actually, I want to look it up. When was the last time we got any kind of news about Astartes 2? I'm gonna look this up, because I'm now August 28th. So August 28th, Valric reported on his YouTube channel 3 months ago that there's he declared Astartes 2 is still happening. Blur Studio 40k animation link up.
Valric though.
Valric shaky best.
Yeah, Valric is also a bit of a simp when it comes to this stuff.
Thingy. Speaking of 40k fan animations, there was one that Kill Team Hungry basically tweeted put out on his YouTube community that he was telling everyone about, and it's called The Awakening. I'm not sure if you saw it.
I think I saw a snippet of it.
Yeah, it's basically a group of dark angels go down into a Necron tomb, and it wakes up. And they start fighting like those like 4-legged sort of scarab fighters. And oh my god, it was absolutely phenomenal. It had it had a voice actor from one of the it's a very popular YouTube channel. I just don't know which one it was. A Vox in the Vox. Oh yeah, Voldemort.
Oh no, yes.
Yeah, even had like Legio Symphonica doing the bloody soundtrack and sound effects.
I need to see the rest of this, man.
Oh, it's goated, and it's not been taken down by GW, which is
good.
Which actually makes me think, what the fuck was the point then?
No idea.
Like that, like that must mean the whole thing was. Oh yeah, shit, yeah, the Tithes as well with the Custodes versus the Tyranids. Was that part of Warhammer Plus, or was that like a?
I think wasn't that official because it had the female Custodes thing?
Oh fuck!
Or was it?
Wait, which one was it?
The tithes.
That's I don't know. I don't recall hearing about the tithes before it ended up on Warhammer Plus. So I think that's a case of it's a Warhammer Plus original. Now,
the Adeptus Custodes are some of the best warriors in the Imperium has to offer, and we get to see that firsthand in episode 2 of the Warhammer TV. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so all of those animator grabs must have been solely for Warhammer Plus then, because none of these fan animations afterwards have been claimed, which is weird.
Man.
Surely if GW was consistent in taking down 40k based animations, all of these would be gone.
Yeah.
Which makes the decision even more baffling. And of all the ones to take away Astartes,
I think the reason that we're even going to be able to, and to the credit to the topic at hand, the only reason I think we're going to be able to see a resurgence of 40k fan animations is that it's been a while, and I think GW are looking at the success or lack thereof of Warhammer Plus, and they're looking at that and they're comparing it to the backlash of not only other things that they've done in the meantime, but also the original controversy of taking down Astartes, taking down Sodaz's stuff. They're looking at those situations, and I think they're just weighing the scales and are like, was it worth it? Not really. Like, I'm sure they're making enough to justify Warhammer Plus. Otherwise, they would have taken it down by now. It's been a couple years, so they're definitely making enough to justify continuing it. But I'm definitely thinking that the scales are not showing that it's so much worth it that they're going to continue to nuke every single fan animator that makes something on YouTube. I think they've come to the conclusion. This is my hope as well, mind you. I don't know this to be a fact, but I think they've come to the conclusion it's just not worth it to snipe every single fan animator. Too much backlash, not enough payoff.
And of course, it serves as free advertisements, which, you know, everyone would have told you, but some learn slower than others.
The policy with GW is they don't learn.
do you reckon they don't learn, or do you reckon they think they're too big for their boots as the IP holders that they can't be touched?
I mean,
because it is their legal property. Like, they know there are people out there like on fucking like Redditor dumbasses that'll buy anything 40k that they push out because they want to stick it to the chuds. You're not welcome here. That sort of shit, right?
Yeah.
And because they own the IP, they can do whatever they want. Well, they like, that's what I mean. They think they can do whatever they want, and sometimes they can do whatever they want as long as it falls within grounds. Because YouTube will happily comply with them because they're a big business. You know, they're a big IP. Obviously, you know, people in fucking America that like to make 3D models of Warhammer. You know, I'd like to see GW try and take them down, like they tried to do with fucking what was his name? Gamza?
Yep.
Yeah, Gamza. Yeah. They can't do that shit in America, but, you know, the moment you have this big sort of platform like YouTube, and that likes to sort of skirt legal issues because they don't want to get in trouble themselves, they'll happily bend the knee. Therefore, GW has full reign over media content and IP.
Yep. And it's
so,
I think
I think GW no, but I think they're too ignorant for their own good.
They really are. Like, that's very much the truth of the situation.
I really wish it was what you said, like, they don't learn, because that's just being dumb. I just like, oh, they did the same thing for the 10,000th time. They're idiots. But I think if you know what you're doing and you keep doing it because you can get away with it, because you have the sense of superiority to take down fan animations, like you're trying to give Nintendo a fucking run for the money. That's malice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's being a prick.
Which they certainly are.
But yeah, just to make it back onto a light-hearted topic note, if you haven't seen it, watch The Awakening. It's on Gabriel Christian's channel.
Oh yeah, it's very good.
Please, for fuck's sake, watch it. It's amazing.
Yes.
So, third one done?
Yep.
So, it's the third one done. Second one done.
No, I know what you meant.
Next.
It's okay. Alright, third topic. Me pull back up, go back up to my list.
Darkseid versus Vermintide.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, this one's a fairly fun one. Vermintide 2 versus Darktide. Which Warhammer extraction shooter / extraction game is better? Now, obviously, this whole topic is 100% subjective. That being said, I am objectively right, and the rest of you are wrong. So let's continue.
I think I have.
Wait, hang on. If you're objectively right and we're objectively wrong, if we agree with your opinion, which one goes first?
I don't know.
Because if you're right, but we agree with you, does that then make you wrong, or does that then make us right? And therefore, that sort of flips your idea on its head.
I don't know. Your Schrodinger is correct. Your Schrodinger is correct. Until you've spoken, I will not say if you're correct or not.
You don't know if the opinion's correct if they don't talk about it.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Do you guys want to? Do either of you want to start with this and give you like detailed thoughts? Or do you want me to start?
I think I'll have the shortest thing because I'll have the shortest opinion. So obviously, I do own Vermintide 2. I've not played through it with buddies yet because I haven't had the chance to. I have played a little bit of Darktide just beginning basically in December, and from my experience, it's fun in places. There are still network issues that I have because I've been playing it through my Xbox, right? And obviously the game supports cross-playing. But well, didn't you mention some time ago that they had this problem beforehand?
The problems with Darktide?
Me and Asmogan covered Darktide extensively.
Yes.
When it the pre-beta, the early access, the official launch, and it was all fucking shite. Oh my god. You know what? Either Nico or Asmogan, you go first. I'm gonna go get a drink just while I mull my thoughts over because I'm gonna go on a fucking rant.
Yeah.
I'm so Nico. Which would you say is better? You have limited experience of Vermintide 2, to be fair. So I'm guessing you're more Darktide.
I wouldn't, not necessarily, because as much as I do enjoy obviously 40K the aesthetics, I think that Vermintide, what is it? It just it feels like on the more valuable experience. Darktide, I don't know. It felt incredibly grindy, but I suppose
it
that
is
could also
very grindy.
Yeah, very grindy. Also, I would love for them to just be able to sort out the network issues. And there was a weird glitch. Probably you guys didn't hear it, but where I had my headset attached to the controller, and I'm just talking to my friend through Discord because it's linked and all that. Occasionally, the game would obviously get the buggy, and it would just completely screw up the audio to the point I couldn't hear anything that you guys said. And see, I mean, the fact that it's still happening now, even after coming back, is Fat Shark. What are you doing?
Yeah, this is unfortunately this is kind of how Fat Shark are. They actually. To pull up without giving my conclusive answer as quite yet, I'll read my review of it, so that'll kind of give a heavy hint of like which I think is better. But I'm gonna break it down by category as well, like music, story, gameplay. Like I'll break it down. But to kind of borrow from my own review a little bit here. I updated my review for Darktide recently to like reflect the latest updates and stuff and some of the fixes since launch. But I said towards the part of my conclusion of my review, I said all in all, Fat Shark has learned lessons from the lessons from the launch of Vermintide 2 and just repeated the whole process again with Darktide. Game launches terribly broken and with massive technical problems, absolutely ruining what is otherwise some of the best content for Warhammer around. But later they fixed the mistake. So that is kind of what has happened. Vermintide 2, I didn't get to experience it, so this did helps soften Vermintide 2 to me a bit more, as I didn't jump into Vermintide 2 until after the launch. and after they had fixed up a lot of the problems. From what I have heard and what I have learned of its launch secondhand, Vermintide 2 had a pretty similar launch to Darktide, where there was connectivity issues, disconnects, there was graphical and auditory bugs. This is a repeated process for the studio of Fat Shark. They don't properly finish their games before they launch them. And the sad thing is rather than them being an exception in the industry, they're becoming the standard. Lots of studios are not bothering to finish their games before releasing them. And for the Zoomers out there who don't know what that environment of gaming is like, because you have only been playing games, let's say, the last 10 years, you're probably used to that as being the circumstance. Like, oh, all games release broken, unplayable, disconnects, crashes, graphical bugs, auditory bugs. Well, let me tell you, youngins of an ancient time of yore, where that wasn't the case. Games actually used to come out finished. Now, that doesn't mean we never had bugs. We never had games that came out that with some issues here and there. We absolutely did. But the vast majority of games that came out back in the day didn't, at the very least, didn't crash and didn't disconnect you all the time. Also, because games used to not always require you to be always online. But even with that being the case, Vermintide 2 and Darktide have similar launch experiences, which is why I think it is still fair to compare them, and have like a better of the case. Personally, when I'm talking about like, okay, what's better, Darktide or Vermintide? One big thing to acknowledge is obviously they both cater to very different moods. Darktide is for those who want a grimdark sci-fi or science fantasy experience, whereas Vermintide appeals to people who want a dark fantasy or grimdark fantasy, like sword and board fantasy. So they do cater to very different moods off the bat right there, and I do want to acknowledge that. So obviously with that divide right there, one is not going to cater to that same vibe as the other. However, I don't think that those points are enough to say that they can't be compared at all. But that is a fair thing to acknowledge about, like, saying, okay, one is better than the other. Like, if you ignore every other point we're going to talk about and you only focus on those ones, obviously there's no basis of comparison. But they are comparison on other lines, so I'm just going to say, you know, we're not going to even really acknowledge that point. But sorry, I know I'm going on a total.
No.
Okay,
it's fine.
Okay,
it's fine. Continue.
But, yeah, I guess I'll break down my thought of which one I think is better, and then I'll explain which one I think is better by the end. So music, like, let's just go straight down the categories. So music, I think Darktide is a clear, easy win in terms of categories. Darktide is some of the best music in a video game I've heard in a long time. And if you want to talk about music that captures the atmosphere, vibe, and intensity of 40K, I think Darktide has nailed it. Like, they nailed it in the music department. Vermintide, a lot of the music in that is very serviceable. I wouldn't say it is exceptional. Even now, as I think about it, I'm only remembering like a couple tracks here and there. I mean, it services to capture the mood, and in battles, it does, you know, get you hyped. But it's nowhere near as like poignant or as perfect as Darktide's. So pretty clear, easy win for Darktide on the music. In terms of the environments and graphics, Darktide, I actually would argue, doesn't win this exactly. I do think it has more up to, you know, modern textures, and it's certainly got parts of its aesthetic that I like more. But again, ignoring the themes like sci-fi versus fantasy, do I think it overall looks better than Vermintide? Honestly, I'm gonna say no. I'm not gonna say it looks like worse. This is where I'd say they're kind of tied. The only thing that really hurts Vermintide 2 on this point is that it's an older game, really. If Vermintide 2 were made today, would it look as awesome as Darktide does with its graphics turned up to max? I'd say yes. So, you know, like, for its time and how its graphics and how its visuals have aged, I'd say like graphically they look on par with each other to me. The only thing I'd say like that makes Darktide look better is like the some of the maps definitely feel bigger. And they should. It's 40K. Everything scale wise should be bigger, but they do successfully make everything look a lot bigger and grandiose. So for that aspect, if I was really trying to inch one out over the other, I'd say Darktide wins in graphics, but very much only slightly, and I would still argue they're pretty tied. Like there's a lot of things in Vermintide 2 I think graphically still look amazing, and I think it still holds up. The effects, the smoothness of the gameplay as it is like in the modern day, with barring some connectivity issues from time to time, is also really, really solid. On the topic of gameplay, I think Vermintide 2 is better, personally. Darktide, I don't get me wrong, I like first-person shooters, and I like, I like the switching between like the melee weapons and trying out the different gameplay styles. I like Darktide's combat. Something about it though just feels in the wrong. Yeah, a little off. A little off. It's like las guns don't feel as powerful as they should. And don't get me wrong, like when we're up against like a plague ogre, right? Your las gun shouldn't be enough to bring that down easy. When you're up against a demon of any kind, the las gun shouldn't bring that down easy. But even when we're talking like just like poxwalkers and shit, yeah, your las gun like kills one or two of them or three of them in a row. I don't know, they just don't feel like they're doing as much damage as lore-wise they should. Maybe that's just like, maybe I'm the only one really feeling that, because I don't know, some things feel just a little bit off to me about the combat, and also the difficulty spikes in the gameplay. Darktide has them as well, but they feel more gradual in Darktide. I don't know if I'm the only one who really feels this way. Sorry, in Vermintide. Vermintide 2, the combat feels more gradual, even if you jump between the difficulty tiers. Darktide has a steeper difficulty curve that it hits, depending on your difficulty choice per mission. And I think it jumps up kind of harshly. I do like difficulty and challenge, so it's not necessarily a negative that it gets more challenging. The negative is that it spikes so easily just between two of the difficulties. Like, I feel like it should be more gradual. Like, you shouldn't go from veteran to malice, and it go from being not necessarily a cakewalk, but it go from a smooth experience to crushingly difficult. I don't know. Maybe it's just me again.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
should
like,
be a curve, right?
Yeah, I should definitely feel the increase of difficulty. I should definitely feel like my skill is being strained more. But I don't think I should feel like I'm going from walking up like a mountain path to now I'm climbing a sheer cliff plateau. And I feel like that happens a bit more in Darktide than Vermintide. Vermintide, the difficulty, if you go between them, to me, feels more gradual. And also the melee combat in Vermintide 2 feels a bit better. I don't know, like, Vermintide 2, like, you shred through the Skaven, like, you actually feel like you're actually tearing through them, and like, those weapons feel so visceral, despite the fact that in Vermintide 2, that really a lot of the weapons are just your standard fantasy affair, right? They're daggers, they're swords, they're hammers, but they feel so much more powerful in Vermintide 2. In Darktide, melee doesn't feel, to me anyway, as powerful, which is weird, because when I think of melee weapons, which do I think are cooler and like more powerful in my mind, I always think of the 40k weapons well above the fantasy weapons. Like,
absolutely.
Chainsword, one of the most iconic weapons in fiction. It feels weaker to me in Darktide than the broadsword does in Vermintide 2. And that's for like properly leveled content. So I don't know, it's just these little things that kind of add up to me that make me say, like, if you were to put the games in front of me like right now and say, hey, which would you rather play? I would definitely say Vermintide 2 if like everyone else in the group wanted to. Like I don't think I'd pick, if I had the choice, Darktide over Vermintide 2.
I mean, yeah, having never played Vermintide 2 to any like great extent, definitely I want to give the game more of a shot. And though I will say one thing I have completely learned from Darktide is that I'm not buying a Fat Shark game on release. I'm just not.
No,
just,
don't.
Yeah.
If like I it's just so bad. If there's one bit of advice out there that we can give people through this very subjective topic in our podcast today, because again, these are just our opinions. You know, obviously you can disagree, no big deal. Jokes aside, but if there's one thing that I do think is an objective truth to take away from this topic, don't ever play a Fat Shark game on release. Don't pre-order them. Don't play them on release. Wait, I'd say a minimum 6 months. Yes, and I do.
I'd kind of argue that this is actually an objective thing. Only cause, if you remember, in the video that I did of Darktide's release, I did nearly every single video that Fat Shark released.
Oh no,
pretty much every single fucking one of them launched either buggy or incomplete. So it's not a subjective, oh well, it didn't launch with much content.
I said
or
this. Yeah, this point is the objective one. I said like the
okay.
topic is subjective, but this point is the only objective part of this section. Is this point like objectively? Do not get a Fat Shark game on release. Don't pre-order them and don't get them on release. Wait, I'd say 6 months. Like I wouldn't even say wait a month, wait 2 months, I'd say wait a whole 6 months, because that's how long it took for what I followed for Darktide to get more functional and operable. It took about 6 months. So that's definitely an objective thing, and yeah, you're right. It's they're just, I don't know what it is. They don't learn at all from their past games, like, because again, it happened with Vermintide 2. I just don't know. I don't know why they keep releasing. Then again, I don't know why the whole industry does it. To be fair, like the whole industry is doing it nowadays, is releasing games pretty much completely unplayable day one, which is in contradiction to that. And only a slight sidebar. Path of Exile 2 is in early access right now, and that game feels like a full release.
Yeah.
So
Good.
It's like, it's really sad I have to go to a AA studio, like Grinding Gear Games, go to their early access to feel like I'm playing a game that still feels like a game should release from like 15 years ago.
Yeah, the only thing that comes even close to that nowadays, actually, well, the most recent thing is the fact that me and, well, Nathan, have been playing through a game called Worldbox, which is an early access, but it feels complete. It does. It really does.
Yeah, it does feel complete, although they have had, the reason I wouldn't say Worldbox is because they have had years and years of Q&A, because their original game came out on Newgrounds, and then they released the game on mobile, and then they released it for PC. So I don't want to. I wouldn't say Worldbox because it's had a lot of Q&A over the years as well. So, and I've not been there for the whole like launching, because it was priced as £16 on Steam, and it may have had a history of just being absolutely incomplete or buggy as shit. So you might want to recommend Worldbox, but I'm not going to say anything about Worldbox.
Okay. You're still gonna be addicted to it though.
I'm very addicted. It's in a good state now. It's a very good state now.
Yeah, and on the last line of like narrative between Vermintide 2 and Darktide, I'd say, I don't know, this is just me. I personally liked the characters more in Vermintide 2.
Yeah, because they're returning characters, right?
I don't know about like returning. I don't have nostalgia for them. I've only played Vermintide 2. I didn't play Vermintide 1.
Well, they did come from the original game.
Yeah, yeah, but just within the self-contained game, I like them more. It to be fair, Darktide 2 does kind of suffer from that a little bit because of the ability to make your own character, so of the modularity. So there's less like specific lines and interactions you can have between the characters. Though to Darktide's credit,
You said Darktide 2.
that
I think you're saying Vermintide 2 and Darktide so much that you're actually starting to blend them together.
yeah, that's happening. In Vermintide 2, like you have like the concrete characters of Kruber, for example, and Saltspire. Like you have these concrete characters with definitive like not only personalities and roles and classes, but places in the lore and like their own personal histories that interact with each other. So it feels a little bit better when they're like working together and when they have like little dialogue moments. Even like when you're just like getting ready to play a match, let alone actually in the matches. In Darktide, because of the player modularity, and again, they to Darktide's credit, they do a very good job at factoring that in and still having those kind of match character interactions. But because these are like little things, like the characters in Darktide don't refer to each other by name. They refer to each other by like kindred if you're from the same world, or they refer to each other by like their class or by their like crime and stuff. But they don't refer to each other by name, and just that little thing makes them feel like less connected. And yeah, so it's that modularity that at the same time it's cool with like having your own custom character. It hurts it with like your investment in them and in like the match losses if like people die. Little things like that affect my investment in the story. And then you have obviously the actual overall narrative that happens. Again, I felt very, because it's weird, because for me normally I'm more invested in stories where I can make a character and they like be my proxy into the setting. But weirdly enough, I this is a rare case where I'd say Darktide, it's just throughout the story I felt so disconnected to the events. Like I don't feel like my character was really, despite the fact that we are directly the ones doing everything, I never felt that way. Like I never felt like I was.
Yeah, not to mention like because this is just my personal view on it, but because the characters also are voiced and they have their own voice lines, even though you custom make them yourself, I kind of felt like it wasn't really mine. Maybe? I don't know. It just kind of felt like I was yeah, I don't know. I didn't really connect to even my own character, which is weird.
I didn't really connect to I connected to mine on paper, like when you make the character and you pick the world, you pick all that stuff. But weirdly enough, after character creation, again, I think this is one of those cases where because they can't do too many specifics even with your choices, because they have to make it modular in light of the fact that there's going to be so many varied choices between all the people who play the game, so they have to do like things more generally. That kind of makes you feel like you're just kind of a floating pawn piece, whereas in Vermintide 2, because they're all pre-made characters with names, with histories, with backgrounds, all the interactions are a lot more in-depth and more personable between the characters, referencing each other's histories, referencing each other's roles, referencing each other's actions directly.
Yep.
It's just, weirdly enough, in that game where you don't make your character, you don't like write their story or establish their story, but because the game does, you feel more invested. That's just me, to be fair. I'm gonna say this is probably where a lot of people are gonna kind of deviate on opinion, but I feel less invested in the narrative of Darktide than I do the story of Vermintide 2. So I'd say, like, after all that, overall, which game would I say is better in my opinion? My opinion, I think Vermintide 2 is the better game between Darktide and Vermintide. Anyway, I have been ranting on this topic the longest. Nathan.
Oh, here we go again. Is it that time already to talk about Darktide? Okay, so when you ask the question of which game is better, from what angle do you define better?
Well, I just broke it down in, like, my categories. For me, it's like, you know, the 4 categories I did was music, gameplay, graphics, and then narrative.
Okay, right. I'm pretty much going to be parroting the same points that I did with Darktide, so let us fucking go. Right, so launch, Vermintide 2 is way better. Now, when I say Vermintide 2 was way better, I don't mean it was a good launch. No, it's a fat shot game. It was still fat shit when it launched, but nowhere near as bad as Darktide, which is one of the reasons why Darktide's launch stung so much, because having a similar framed game as Vermintide 2, like, it's different if you're a studio that's been making, like, AA games, and then this might be your first AAA, so, like, you're kind of getting the feel as to how it's going to run. That I can make an excuse for. What I can't was the fact that they had Vermintide 1, Vermintide 2, so they can anticipate what the AAA launch is going to be, and then came Darktide, and then it was a steam and pile of Nurgle shit. They learned nothing from the previous releases. So that was Darktide's launch. Like I've talked about extensively in videos, I'm not too particularly proud of, because this was when my voice was still fucking depressy and sleepy. As I covered, their launch was fucking horseshit. And their launch, which also stung more, which is what they didn't do for Vermintide 2, was they fucking lied. They lied so much.
I forgot about that.
Oh my fucking god, those bastards lied through their teeth.
Yeah, I forgot the fact that they lied a lot.
Yeah, they did. And one of the things that didn't help their lies was the absolute ass munchers was the 40k community. You know that me and Asmo like telepathically linked on this. So many fucking people were in both of our comment sections saying it's early access, it's early beta, don't criticize them. Like oh, this is the time where they're supposed to fix their mistakes.
What was it?
2 problems on that front.
Was it 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 problems on that front. One, they've already released 2 AAA games of same framework, of same genre, with same content, roughly. And it didn't launch that bad. So how come Darktide is as this bad, given how they've had 2 previous examples of how to launch a fucking game, right? And the second point was, like Asmo just said, they had 2 weeks to fix the mistakes. Now, if it was like Path of Exile, like I was speaking to Arctic before, and he said that the problem with Path of Exile 2 currently is that some of the servers are unstable, but that's like a AA game, and that's just the servers are shaky because it's launch week.
And
plus the servers are third party, it's not their servers. Correct. They have to rent out space.
Correct.
But that's fine. That is more than fine. That is preem. That's Nova, right? But for fucking Darktide, 2 weeks. Like I think I did it in the big sort of review that I did. I had a fucking mouse on the top of the Steam update, and I had it dragging down in the background for a solid 5 minutes, and it had pages and pages of fixes and bugs that they were supposedly going to fix in 2 weeks, and what it still took them pretty much a month after launch to even fix a quarter of them.
Yep.
And so they were in our fucking comments moaning about that. So, no. Anyone who defended Darktide at the start and basically started harassing people who were criticizing the games, you know, when we should be getting bang for our buck at launch, go fuck yourself. In the immortal words of our good friend Caboose, suck starter bolter, please. You fucking chills.
It was so bad.
So,
like, they honestly,
yeah.
I was shocked. I was shocked by how many people were defending Darktide's launch, because normally you have like the ass munchers. Normally you have the people who come out of the woodwork and defend the thing that they're like a hyper fan of. But this is the worst I've ever seen it, I think. Like, unironically, the only time I could think that it compares is like with World of Warcraft.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like when people were like defending, for example, when Warlords of Draenor came out, and that was a total piece of shit expansion. But even then, honestly, like the fervency of the defense wasn't as much there. Like because here's the thing: you confronted people about like Warlords of Draenor who were trying to defend it, right? They at least acknowledged your points when you were like, "Hey, like, but do you like what's your point? What's your counterpoint to these issues?" And they just like, "Oh, well, I don't think those are a big deal." You did the same thing with the Darktide people. You didn't just get, "Oh, I don't think those are a big deal." You'd get those, "I don't think those are a big deal," and the fact that you think that they are means you're just a fucking idiot, and like they would go on a personal tirade. They acted like you criticizing
You expect
it.
too much from the game.
Yeah.
You expect too much. I'm like, I'm sorry. I paid 30 quid for early fucking access. I booked several days off from work for my fucking birthday to play this damn game, right? I want to enjoy the game that I bought, that I've supported, that I've spread good word, that I've been hyped for. And I just want the game to be fucking functional.
Yeah, they literally called me entitled in a couple comments for complaining about genuine issues like crashing. Like, people were talking.
How dare you complain about falling through the fucking floor?
Yeah, like again, things that I had footage of. I was showing footage of my game crashing, of disconnects, and ad nauseum, and they were talking about my points like I was absurd, and that I was being completely unfair.
What I had in recorded OBS matches, Asmogan had in live streams about the fucking game.
Yes.
We both had recorded we had physical fucking evidence of it happening, and we were the ones that were getting blamed.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I've never seen simpery like that in my life, and I've yet to see it since.
Those people were complete sycophants.
Oh yeah, like
they were just absolutely like dragging their tongue along Fat Shark's hairy aim, just fucking wanting to get like a crumb of content from them if they defended from big bad reviewers.
It's like, gimme.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
So, okay. So that was the launch, and that's probably the biggest one in my opinion.
Yep.
So, music. Darktide wins hands down.
Oh yeah.
And that is in no small part due to Jesper Keed, the composer, who has done Assassin's Creed out the fucking ass. He did, I talked about, why the fuck did why am I forgetting all the Jesper Keed shit that he's done? Shit. Because I covered it in the video, I shouldn't have forgotten. Yeah. So he's done, like I said, Assassin's Creed out the arse. He's done the Hitman games and stuff like that. He is just an absolute legend. He's done some Soul Calibur. He's done, like, Vermintide 2 as well. He's done Stated Again.
Mm-hmm.
Borderlands. Like, Jesper Keed is such a prolific sort of composer that I remember his fucking name. I don't remember composers, but there's a few that I remember, and Jesper Keed's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Vermintide 2 had a few gems here and there, not all struck out. It suffers from the same problem as Space Marine 2 does, is that when you listen to it by itself on YouTube, it's absolutely amazing, but in the moment, it goes completely unnoticed. There are a few tracks of Vermintide 2 that I will phrase such as the last man standing when you're the sole survivor, when you're the only one left in the group that isn't dead. Holy fuck, it's basically like the main theme, and it is, it's beautiful. The choir, the heavy drums, the violins, the slow creeping of the string instruments to emphasize the skaven coming, like encroaching on you as you fight, like meter by meter just to get to the very end portal. There's also when the Citadel, the Chaos Waste DLC came out. All the music that came out for that was fucking phenomenal as well, because they really could go ham on the Chaos themes, as well as the themes that came out when they released the Be'lakor extension for Chaos Waste.
Oh yeah.
In fact, Be'lakor's theme is one of my favorites. That and the Corn Palace.
Corn Palace is my favorite.
Yeah, it's very fucking good.
So good.
But Darktide, yeah, hands down, it had a lot more flavor. It had a lot more sort of variation because it took it to different locations across the Hive City. Nurgle, because he's chaos, you can get a lot more thematic. You can get a lot more sort of creative because chaos is such a primal force. It's a primal foe that you can really go heavy and subliminally with the instruments and the tones and the music itself. But yeah, Just Key knocked it out the park. Darktide wins music, hands down. What other topics did you do, Asmo?
Gameplay, graphics, and narrative.
Okay, I'll do narrative. Narrative, Vermintide 2 wins hands down, because Vermintide 2 had set characters who were from completely different factions.
Yep, I agree.
You had Carillion, which is the elf, who obviously represents the fucking knife ears. You had Saltspire, who was technically part of the Empire, but also there was what's his name? The soldier.
Wasn't that Kruber?
Kruber, yeah, Kruber. So Saltspire and Kruber come from technically the same faction, but they had different points of views. One being a soldier, one being like a secret member of the Fantasy Inquisition.
Yeah.
One being a diehard zealot. One just basically wanted to get along and survive with everyone. You had the dwarf, who was fucking hilarious because he would basically yell out the Warhammer variation slurs humans, like fucking saying shit's umgak, stuff like that, and calling the elf a bunch of names, which, you know, dwarven elves. Yeah, fucking what shit was the dwarf name? Tide. It was Bardin Gorkison. Lovely dude. And then there was the witch, who Saltspire would always take the piss out of because he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you later anyway, because you're a heretic." She was like, "Oh yeah, fucking try it, big boy. I've got flames." But yeah, they had their own voice lines. They had their own faction-related voice lines. They had their own situational-related voice lines. They were set characters. They were designed to be different. They were designed to be sort of like I said, they're from different factions who come from completely different settings. They just happen to be all part of the Human Alliance.
And because they were set characters, and this, by the way, you pretty much made a lot of the same points I did on that aspect.
Okay.
So it's good. It's good to hear we align. And because they are set characters, in terms of what they wrote for like voice lines for them and interactions, as well as like their direct narrative impacts, they could actually reference each other by name and actually reference each other in more specifics rather than generals, which is what happened in Darktide.
Yeah, that's what it like. That's what I meant by sort of like narrative specific speech. Because the fact that they could name each other, they were individual characters by themselves with different faction-related stuff. Like when, I think it's one of my favorites. Is like, oh, did you ever hear about the elf that killed 100 soldiers at a bridge? And Carillion was like, oh shit, that was me. And Saltspire was like, oh, was it now? Like that shit is that shit was funny, and it also adds lore as well to the surrounding setting.
Yeah.
Darktide suffers from that because what they sacrificed in sort of more poignant and specific speech. They had to sacrifice for customizable stuff, and they did amazing jobs with the customization, having the different voices, the different backgrounds, the different customization options of the rejects. But the problem is with, I'm sure you said it, Asmo, before when I was out getting a cup of tea, is the fact that they're all rejects. They all come from the Imperium. They're not of different factions. The furthest one you're going to get is the Ogren, because he's an abhuman.
Yeah.
But the rest, Psychers, Zealots, and Guardsmen, they're all from the same overarching Imperium.
No,
It's different if you had, it's different if you had, okay, let's say they were all rogue trader. Like, one was a rogue trader, one was, like, an Eldar Exodite. That would be sort of the Vermintide lines you'd be getting along, because there's different factions, different settings behind each character. They probably have different names as well. But these are all Imperium-based people, not sub-factions. Imperium.
Well, to be
Militarum.
fair, in the Imperium, like when we talk about like different regiments, right, and we talk about like the different worlds they're from, it should feel like, yeah, they're all human, but culturally they're supposed to be substantively different. Like Catachan, Cadia, I don't know, let's go with the Vestroyans or Valhallans. All of these are Imperium. Yes, they all speak Low Gothic commonly, and there is a lot of overlap with religion in particular. But outside of like religion and spoken language, they're supposed to be drastically different culturally, and they just completely failed, in my opinion, to capture that in Darktide.
Well, yeah, that was kind of the problem, because they wanted to make them as generic as possible, so you could then imprint yourself.
Exactly.
You could then imprint the customization.
Exactly.
But the problem is the fact that it didn't offer you, say, to come from Krieg or Catachan or Valhallan, or to become a Macabian Janissary. Shout out Paris, we will get them one day. Like, we won't fucking get that. Like, they had to be as bog standard as a customizable generic template for that specific unit, that you sacrifice a lot of the customization. And narrative wise, at least on the character side, I'll get into the story in a bit. Narrative wise, for the characters, Darktide fails. Well, not fails, no, but it's not nowhere near as good as Vermintide 2.
Yeah.
More invested in the dialogue than I was with Darktide. At least Vermintide, I was invested in the beginning because I was fresh to Darktide and I wanted to see all the dialogue options. But there was so many fucking times where I heard the same dialogue options over and over and over again, because they had to. They had to reuse the same ones over and over, because everyone played the same 4 classes. At least Vermintide 2, you have 5 classes, so you hear a lot more variational dialogue, as well as the variations in the characters. But Darktide has 4 slots, so you can easily fill one of those slots with one of the other characters, and be prepared to hear the same voice lines over and over. I mean, you'll hear the same but I'm a person who has played RTS. I play Dawn of War. I play Command and Conquer. You wouldn't think the same voice lines over and over again would bother me. That's how bad they were in Darktide.
Oh, yeah.
They irked the shit out of me.
Also, like...
So I was going to say, I can hear the words Kirov reporting from Red Alert 2 10,000 times over. I'll never get sick. But if I hear one fucking infantryman talk to an Ogren about how the commissar was fucking nice to him, I'm seriously gonna kick a baby.
Oh, wow.
Piss me the fuck off. I hate that. Oh, please kill me, sacrifice me to Khan, do anything. I don't want to hear them talk again. Let me shoot shit.
And that's the dialogue. That's what I find so weird about Darktide. But also, like, logically it makes sense in hindsight, but like, normally when you make a character in a game, you're supposed to, the whole point of that is to make you feel even more invested, right, of that particular game.
Absolutely.
But this is such a weird thing, because it's done in such a way that you feel so much less invested, because because they can't be too specific with the character choices, because they have to factor in everybody's. So they're like, oh, we have to be general, like with the voice lines that are activated between these two classes. And another point that actually, Nathan, you bring up that I didn't think of, but I'm thinking of just now, you can't have 2 Krubers in Vermintide 2 in a match.
Exactly.
You can't have 2 Saltspires. They limit you. They don't do that in Darktide. Now, granted, that's partially because of matchmaking, but because they sacrifice that limitation, that makes those interactions, they make that dialogue, repetitive, because people are gonna go with what's meta.
Because, like, how many people are fans of the Guardsman and wanted to play the Guardsman? No, imagine 4 fucking Guardsmen in a Darktide mission when all it takes is 2 Guardsmen for 1 dialogue line, and all of the characters have to have a certain amount of dialogues in a mission because they're programmed to that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that on repeat. Now you understand why I want to, like, headbutt a landmark.
Yeah.
So, just to go back onto the narrative for the story-wise, Vermintide 2 is basically a set of different stories across the campaigns, but it actually tells you the story beforehand of what each mission will do. But because of Darktide and the scale of it, is like, oh, you're supposed to do these things around the Hive like the Hive City and the Imperium, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They are designed to be as generic as possible because it's not supposed to be the only time you do that mission. With the shit like the when they brought back the Vermintide 1 campaign into Vermintide 2, like Left 4 Dead originally did with their campaigns, each mission was like, oh, this is when your group stormed the castle of the vampire. This is when your group basically held off that massive invasion to invoke the runes in the statue. And sorry, it's been a play Vermintide 2 so far. I'm forgetting all the names. Apologies.
That's fine.
But there was also another one where you would travel through the chaos. This is your time where your group went through the chaos waste. Like, they were set campaigns of the recollection of what happened when the Ubersreich 5 went through each mission. But in Darktide, it's basically you're going to go to this location, you're going to do the boss. It's not like the only time you did that. It's meant to be modular, like, this is just one time you're doing it in amongst the massive Hive City. Which is where Vermintide 2 shines, because they are individual, story-driven missions, like Left 4 Dead 2, but Darktide does not make that distinction because, and I'm not sure if you'll notice, but the bosses in Vermintide 2 have specific names. However, if you go to the Hive City in Darktide, all the bosses have different names. So it can't be the same narrative, basically. And as the DLCs come out, as the updates have come out for Darktide over the past few months, it's been more and more of the same sort of modular mission. I mean, there has been one narrative thing where they've introduced a pair of twins, like big sort of Nurgle fuckers, and the sort of twins, and like they're named and stuff, and you're supposed to kill each one of them. Right. I've not played Darktide in a while, but that's the closest you kind of get to narrative. And for anybody that's going to say, oh, well, the campaign, like the underlying reject thing. No, it wasn't, because as I fucking pointed out at launch, Darktide's plot, like, you've got one of the legendary writers from the Black Library. The plot of fucking Darktide at launch was Among Us.
No, that's accurate, and that's the sad part.
Like, I pointed this out in the fucking video I did. I had the Among Us sort of theme song in the background, and it was, you basically, you go aboard a spaceship, somebody starts sabotaging the ship, you then find out that there's an imposter, or there's a heretic on board, and at the very end of leveling up, you basically get summoned into a chamber, which is like a vote to kick in Among Us, right? You get summoned to a chamber, and then obviously your dude lives, and the other dude gets a round in his head. He gets ejected. The whole fucking the plot is directly from Among Us. Dan Abner, like me and Cavantis joke about it. You probably got to fucking reach around and $60,000 to come up with that fucking plot line. Man ran with it. I'm always jealous. So yeah, narrative, Vermintide 2 blows Darktide out the fucking water with that.
Yep, I agree.
Play. What Vermintide 2 does in melee weapons, Darktide 2 does in ranged weapons. Vermintide 2, because it's fantasy, was well heavier with the melee weapons, and it was so fucking fun to use. Like, especially as the Grail Knight. Like, just running amongst Skaven and Beastmen and leveling, so like a massive longsword at like head level, and you decapitating like 30 enemies in one go with like a legendary weapon.
Yeah, and that was actually one of
Tasty.
my one of my points of like negatives on the gameplay front towards Darktide is that the melee weapons just don't feel anywhere near as powerful as they should.
Yeah, unless you're playing the Ogren, in which all of their shit is chunky, like it ragdolls all the enemy. In fact, chucking a box of grenades and pinging it off like a Nurgle demon's head and one-shotting it is funny as fuck. That'll never not be funny. Because you just chuck it and it flies at their head at like Mark 3, and ping, and it just flies off into the ceiling. Gorgeous. But unless you're an Ogren, or unless you're a infantryman with a power sword, the melee weapons don't feel like anything. Because with the power sword with the infantryman, like I said, that feels weighty because you activate it and you swing it and it cuts like a hot knife through butter, giving you the Vermintide 2 effect of like decapitating 30 enemies in one massive swing in front of you. Apart from that, chain swords, there's no fucking point in using chain ability, which is the whole point of a chain sword, because it lingers in the enemy. And sometimes it doesn't even kill the enemy outright. You're supposed to be cutting them in half. What the Hammers, yeah, okay. The Zealot has a weapon, but melee shouldn't only be good for one class when it's pretty much 50% of the weaponry in the game. And because Darktide likes to be really skimpy with the ammo on higher difficulties, yeah, melee counts for a lot, and melee for a lot of classes in, well, for of the 4 classes, like I said, unless you're an infantryman with a power sword or a general like Ogren. Anyway, melee doesn't feel as good. But but the guns in my opinion do, but it's very hit and miss. Las pistols, bolt pistols, they are fucking shite.
Yeah.
But if you use the there was a heavy machine gun, basically sort of walk really slow.
Gun?
No, no, I'm not sure if it was the auto gun, but it was it was like a standard assault rifle, but if you sort of stayed still, you can have this wide little bracket as a sight, and you basically started chunking through enemy heads if you aimed at like the sort of the head region. It was very good. It was that and the what's the rapid fire lasgun called that the jetpack dudes use? It's something like shock troopers.
It's part of the Elysian troops.
Elysian, yeah. Yeah, the Elysian shock troopers. The rapid fire lasgun was absolutely impeccable. Not to mention the Ogren had a few weapons where it basically just one-shot near enough anything. The Zealot really didn't get any ranged weapon. In fact, I don't even think he does get any ranged weapons. Does he?
Zealot does get a ranged weapon.
But I imagine it doesn't... Oh, yeah. Also, they get the Flamer, which is fucking bollocks, because why doesn't the infantry get the Flamer? It has arbitrary weapon restrictions, which is dumb. Because why the fuck can't I equip a massive two-handed chainsword on the Ogren? He could wield one in each hand. Why are you not letting me be as effective as I possibly can be?
Reasons.
Yeah, braced autogun. That's what it called. The Agrippina braced autogun. That was the gun I was on about with the weird bracket. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the weapon system for the classes didn't feel as good as it should. The melee weapon system is absolutely AIDS. The class system, we still have not got a 5th or 6th class. For Darktide,
the traits suck.
Fucking criminal.
Traits
are absolutely shite. Why the fuck are you? Why are you claiming they're supposed to be like highly customizable, when you can pretty much only go into like one of 2 subclasses? They pretty much do the same thing anyway. Like it's either you recharge your grenade or your grenades are more powerful. Either way, you're specking into grenades, and the other one's like, ooh, you might shoot faster, or your special ability will last longer. That big RPG system that we were promised, bollocks.
Yeah, it is.
Absolute pish. What else about gameplay? Yeah, the difficulty. I actually came back when you were talking about the difficulty, and I'm in full agreement. The first 3 difficulties are absolutely a fucking joke. Like, the third difficulty is the ideal difficulty to play on. Difficulty 4 and 5, I thought was nearly impossible until I played with, like, a heavy spec and a heavy focused team. At that point, difficulty 4 becomes the new standard. Difficulty 5's a fucking joke. As in, like, why would you play that difficulty? I had footage of it where it was the very start of the mission. Do you know the start of the mission where you start on the side and you have a heavy Lehman Russ destroyers and you've got to cross a bridge and then you've got to go through that service tunnel?
Yeah.
On that fucking mission, they spawned 4 heavy machine gun corrupted Ogrins, and 2 of those big shield enforcer dudes in the first 30 fucking seconds. It is disgustingly unfair.
Yeah, the difficulty spikes I thought were ridiculous. I get that there's 5 tiers and that they should feel like a step up, but the thing is, it shouldn't be like one step. Like the first 3 steps are actually like fairly paced between each other, that you can actually feasibly see yourself being able to do each one, and then suddenly, bam! It's like the next one's not even a step. They want you to climb a rock wall. It's like, that's ridiculous.
If I had to put it in terms of the people that didn't play Darktide or just don't know what we're on about, right? Let's say the first 3 difficulties are, hey, build this Lego house. Difficulty 1. Difficulty 2, put together this Hot Wheels racing track. Difficulty 3,
glue together miniatures.
build a Warhammer miniature. Difficulty 4, assemble a bike, full frame and everything with the chain. Right, bit difficult, but if you bit difficult, but if you know what you're doing, it's pretty feasible. Difficulty 5, assemble this US fucking military aircraft carrier. That was the fucking jump. 1, 2, and 3 were very close together. Number 4 was the big jump. Number 5, fucking dog shit scaling. Yeah. And that was before any difficulty modifiers. The mission that I played with that special unit spam, didn't even have any modifiers as far as wasn't even difficulty if there was. So, on that front, difficulty, dog shit, class spec, RPG sort of class skills, dog shit, weapons, hit and miss. What else about the gameplay that I've probably missed? Oh, yeah, optimization. The actual playing of the game, optimization was fucking garbage. Cavantis had to help me with some of his settings, and I had pretty much the strongest rig of our group. Even I couldn't run it. Even on high, I was like, my laptop was melting.
Oh no!
My laptop was melting. My frame, my game basically became a PowerPoint at that point. All the people though with low specs could run it fine. I even had like Nvidia DLSS. Which was supposed to help, and it did. It helped a little bit, but it only bumped it from 30 to 40 frames. And OBS was shitting itself. It was like, what the fuck do I record? And it was stuttering, and that's when the game wasn't crashing. The optimization was piss poor. It was really fucking bad. And to the people said, oh, well, it wasn't that, it was machine. As part of all the changes that I highlighted in my video of me scrolling down for those 5 minutes, a lot of those were graphical and optimization issues. So don't fucking come and lecture me like you tried to initially, you pricks. Also, the game was kind of jank engine-wise at times. Do you know the most annoying enemy in that game was the fucking Plague Hound?
Yes, they're actually much. I don't know if you when last time you played, Nathan, is.
I've not played it since the review. I have been meaning to go back to it at some point to say, is it worth playing now? And it is worth playing now, as far as I know, because I see Caboose and Scar and that copping back on Darktide a lot.
I still
with
think,
Nico...
even in its current state, I would still argue Vermintide 2 is better. But it's a lot better right now with some of the balancing and some of like the function of certain enemy units right now. The dogs are not as bad.
Jesus Christ, no.
They're like, still annoying as fuck though.
At launch, I'm not sure if you remember this, Asma, but remember when the fact that they'd either hop across the entire map, or they would literally phase through fucking walls.
The phasing
you would absolutely
get
jump scared.
Were they actually no clipping?
No shit. Like... They were flying. It was like, do you know the Foxy jump scare in fucking Five Nights at Freddy's 2, where he'd leap at you? That was the play count, but they'd go through walls.
It was ridiculous. Like I saw, I got pinned by one that went through a pipe.
Yeah, now imagine that on difficulty 4 and 5.
Oh, God, that's
you had no
chance.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrendous, and yeah, the game was jank as shit. But the play counts was some of the worst enemies going, because they would just phase through walls. Like I hear the same criticism about the Skaven Assassins of Vermintide 2, but like I've only seen 1 or 2 instances where they've flown a considerable distance. I've never seen a Skaven Assassin no clip through a fucking tree. I've never seen that. Play counts were not of Nurgle. They would have Zinch. They were fucking wall phasers. But yeah. Also, some of the bosses, I know the Nurgle, but they were too spongy as fuck. Like, you have to have a balance of lore and gameplay. Now, like, I like Darktide more than Vermintide because Darktide's more for me because it's 40k. I was never into fantasy, but somebody bought me Vermintide 2 and I play it, and it was impeccable. I think it was Bal. Thank you, Bal, if you're watching, by the way. But Vermintide 2 doesn't really hold the same sort of setting appeal, which is why I was excited to book it off when it was launched on my birthday, because it was like, holy shit, it's 40k, but Vermintide 2. Which, to be fair, is probably why they launched it in its dog shit state, because of the amount of sales they got. They were like, oh, we've already have their money. But yeah, so gameplay-wise, I'm probably rambling, so we have to wrap this up. What else, Asmo?
I think that's it after that.
That was quite informative, actually.
Yeah. It's only because, like I said, I've done 3 videos documenting each stage that Darktide was at. Like, I still recommended buying it, but one thing that I have pointed out in the past, which I forgot to do, was I forgot to bring up Fat Shark's history of they do repair their games eventually. They do have a track record of that, and I should have brought it up, but at its launch, it was such a fucking stretch to recommend buying it. Yeah. I easily could see why people would not want to do it. Oh my fucking god, like, the launch of that game was so bad, and like, I really do want to go back to it because I hear Fat Shark have fixed a lot of stuff, but even still, they are fixing so much stuff. It should have had another year in the oven.
Easily another year.
Easily. So, yeah, in my opinion, at launch, Vermintide 2 launched with much more content and launched in a more stable state. But as of now, I think, personally, I enjoy Darktide 2 better. So, fuck, I'm doing it now. Shit. I'm enjoying Darktide. I'm enjoying Darktide. Yeah. Yeah, I'm enjoying Darktide more now because it's... Well, I will enjoy it more now because, again, it's 40k. It has a lot more content. It should have launched with all this at launch anyway. But the theme, the setting's more familiar to me than fantasy is. But if I ever had to go for a stable sort of comfort game, and Darktide 2 was experienced... Darktide is experiencing server issues like it does every other fucking hour, I would happily go back to Vermintide 2 as my solid pick. So, you suppose you could answer the question in two ways. Short term, long term. Long term, Darktide with all the content additions, but short term, if I need a game to play with a bunch of friends and no other games available, easily Vermintide 2. Easily.
Yep.
Fair enough. All right, and Nico, you're the only one who doesn't give a straight answer yet.
Well, like I said, I suppose, which one do I think is?
He's not even played Vermintide 2, and he's only played a little bit of Darktide.
I know, but at this point, I kind of still just want to get you to give me an answer.
I want to hear the naivety. I want to hear the unburdened mind of what we had to go through, Asmo.
Well, having heard all of that, certainly I do want to give Vermintide more of a chance, and obviously one day playing with you as well.
Oh, yeah.
From everything you've described, I kind of think Vermintide 2 just kind of wins, relatively speaking. But of course, Darktide will always have the 40k advantage because I just don't know as much about fantasy as I do with 40k. But yeah, I mean, from everything heard, Vermintide easily, and I think that's really all I can say.
All right, fine, we'll let you off this time.
Yeah.
Next time though.
Next time.
All right. So we do have a couple community questions. Do you want to do those, or do you want to do like the bonus thing, and then we'll save the community questions for next time?
I want to do community questions because I've not even seen these, so this is going to be a flashbang.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So I do still need to screenshot them, but first one we got a couple of months ago. There it is. All right, from Pietis.
Months ago, Jesus.
Yeah, this was a couple months ago. From Pietis, got another one for Primarchs or any characters or factions of the Imperium. Dog breeds. What dog breed would represent each Primarch or other major named characters in addition to the Primarchs? I'm going to reword this.
This is going to be the pizza question.
Yeah, to avoid the pizza question too much. I'm going to add some rules to our answers to this question. One, we're going to stick to the Primarchs just so we can narrow our scope.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're each going to pick 3 Primarchs we could think of and what dog breeds. As opposed to going through all of them, because we're going to be here a while. So, pick 3.
Okay.
So, I got my 3. I can start while you guys think of yours. Because I got my 3 that immediately came to mind.
Yeah, you do that.
Alright. The easiest one in the fucking book. In terms, and he did say dog breed, so we can't do necessarily like canines in general. So, Lehman Russ is a Siberian Husky.
I mean, fair enough.
And easiest pick in the fucking world. You got the winter theme, the wolf-like nature, and extremely high energy, hyperactive. Can get extremely aggressive. So, Siberian Husky. Rogel Dorn, I'd say, is either... Nah, I guess I should. I can't play the this or that game. I'll give a specific. Is a pit bull.
Fair enough.
Reputation of highly aggressiveness and strength, and known for defending homes quite aggressively. And let's see. Angron, Chihuahua. Just the ragiest, hateful, spiteful little shit on the planet. Angron's a Chihuahua. Alright, there's my 3. My 3 right there. Yeah, Russ, Siberian Husky, Dorn is a pit bull, and Angron is a Chihuahua.
Interesting. Actually, no wait, that's right. I have to pick like a different Primarch, do I? Or the same?
I'd say different, just as a challenge.
Okay.
Wait, well, hang on. I suppose you can pick the same Primarchs, but don't pick the same fucking dogs, because otherwise you'd be copying them one for one.
Oh, yeah.
Fair enough. I actually thought with Rogel Dawn, I would have thought a bit of like German Shepherd. Well, at least in my experience, you know, ready on the prowl and is willing to defend.
Yeah, but I suppose German Shepherds are also like fun-loving, and Rogel Dawn does not strike me as the person you'd invite to a birthday party.
I mean, I met some boring ass German Shepherds.
Wow. Okay.
Magnus. Dog breed. What's the name of the one dog breed that basically doesn't have any hair? That's what I feel every time.
That narrows it down very little. Which one?
The one?
Yeah.
The one, right. Hairless. I know there was one hairless.
The hairless terrier?
I'm just gonna look it up. Hang on. Hairless dog breeds. That's dog breeds. Where is it? I don't know. I don't know the name of this one, but whatever. Chinese crested, I think it's called. No.
Jesus fucking Christ! What is that?
Wait, which Primarch is this?
Magnus.
Magnus.
I just think.
Okay.
Yes, because he is. His whole thing is siege and change, and I just kind of love the idea that these dogs like had hair, and then they just lost it through being changed by chaos. And then Conrad Kurz. I mean, aggressive dog breeds. What's the name of the one? The one that comes after the pit bulls.
Mastiff?
No, wait. Hang on. I know
Bordeaux?
it's your Bull Terrier.
Bull Terrier. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's just definitely like Conrad Kurz.
You know, fair enough. Yeah, that. Granted, personality-wise, I'd say the Bull Terrier are much nicer. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. Kind of like vicious looking.
Yeah, and I suppose that's really all I got.
Okay. Fair picks. Nathan?
Okie doke. Right, so the first one that I would go is Jagatai Khan. And I reckon he would have a Tibetan Mastiff. Who hail from the mountains of, like I said, Tibet, which is very close to where Mongolia is, you know, fucking China being China and all that. Which, now, they are massive, they are built for harsh terrain, they are ferocious. Now, they're not the fastest dogs in the world, but the dog wouldn't be running fast. Jagatai would probably have his own personal bike with his own little personal dog seat next to it where the Tibetan Mastiff would sit. And when Jagatai stops moving, which he does sometimes, believe it or not, the Tibetan Mastiff will probably power jump out of there and kill whatever he can get his hands on. So region-wise, it makes sense, and the ferocity, because the Khan is a ferocious he's a ferocious Asian motherfucker. Same with the Tibetan Mastiff.
Super Mangari and Bregamawa.
Yeah, Tibetan Mastiff, they are fucking chunky boys. They are lovely.
Actually, that's really
Conrad Kurz, I would argue, is the... let me define the image first so I can accompany it.
Fair enough.
So, despite these things looking like pointed little fox boys, I think Conrad Kurz would have a Belgian Malinois. They are fast, they are laser focused,
and terrifying.
And get on the wrong side. Yep, get on the wrong side of a Belgian Malinois, and you will get torn to fucking shreds. This thing is no nonsense. You fuck about even remotely near it because it is a very dominant dog. And just like with Conrad Kurz, you'll basically be looking through your own arse. Done with you. Deadly ass dog, but cute as fuck, and it's exactly what I think of Comrade Kurz. I like Comrade Kurz. He's cool, and he does exactly what he says on the tin. He did clean up crime. Same with the Belgian Malinois. They are protective, even if they do go a little bit overboard.
Can I just tell you this? Because German Shepherds were the police dog for the longest time, right? When Belgian Malinois is being added to the force, I think it's like in the last 10 years, or 10 to 15 years.
When German Shepherds stopped because they were seen as too aggressive.
Well, the thing is, I don't think that a lot of police stations haven't stopped. They're using more Malinois instead. And I think it's because they're more. If I'm not mistaken, it's because they're actually more capable, quote unquote. They're both dogs are really effective for police work, but I think Malinois, because of their jumping ability, their aggression, and their stronger bite force, because I think they're a little bit stronger than Shepherds. Yeah, make them a more effective police dog, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, like our local police, our local sheriff has a Malinois, and his name is Spike. Spike is going to retire actually next year, is what I heard. That's the rumor.
Oh.
One of his puppies got taken in by the canine unit, so I think one of his puppies is going to be replacing him in a couple years. But yeah, Spike, I've met him a couple times. When he's in play mode, he is the cutest fucking dog. When he's in work mode, he is terrifying.
He's business. It's all business. 10 toes in.
It's like two different dogs. Play mode, like I visit the sheriff's house, you can throw him a frisbee, he'll go catch it. He's very nice. He likes to hang out. By work mode, well, like I've seen him in the police car. He's like eyeing everybody. Like, do I kill you? Do I rip out your throat? Do I kill you? Do I rip out your throat?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Just stay clear and you'll be fine.
He's fucking on it. Oh, you guys shared images of your dog, so I know you guys probably know all the breeds I shared, but yeah, Siberian Husky for not Dorn, for Russ, Pitbull for Dorn, and Chihuahua for Angron. I don't know why all my images are coming out so tiny. Anyway, so we answered the question.
I didn't say my third.
Oh, all right. What's your third, big boy?
My third is for Alfarius and Omegon. Alfarius and Omegon would have a Labrador Retriever and a Golden Retriever. Because if they're both yellow, unless you know how to spot the differences in the facial structure, those two fuckers can blend in with each other. You never know which is which.
True.
You never know which is which until they're right in your face, and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, that's the one. Like, and I know people say Golden Retrievers tend to be hairier and shaggier, but that's only because they seem to grow hair faster. And they sort of can have the, like, the shaggier coat. But you shave both of them. Good fucking luck telling because they are of the same genus, the same family. Yeah, so Golden Retriever and Labrador Retriever. Like I said, good fucking luck telling them apart until you're right up to them. When they design themselves to look the same, yeah, same vibe.
Nice. All good picks. All good picks. All right. We'll grab one more community question, and then I want to do like that bonus one I had. And to be fair, I think someone was going to ask that one anyway.
Yep.
But
yep.
And then we'll wrap up. That was from Pierce. I'm going to read this one out. Let me know if this is a question we want to answer right now or if it's too lengthy. It might be too lengthy. If every other race joined the Imperium but had to serve in a Space Marine chapter, which race would suit which chapter? This is kind of a loaded one and already has one huge flaw in it. That being Space Marines can only be in Space Marine factions, and we're the same issue with why women can't be Space Marines, the same reason why a lot of Xenos couldn't be Space Marines. So it's already a flawed question. I think it'd be better if we switched that from Space Marines to like Imperial Regiment, Because
It's a flawed question, but it's a fun hypothetical. Like, I can definitely see the reasoning behind some of the races.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So if like we change it to like Imperial Regiment, or if we just change it to like where would we put them in the Imperium in general, it would be a question that works. The only part of that question that hurts it is the Space Marine one.
I'd be fine with the Space Marine because, like I said, I can find the reasoning for it. I've already got a few actually.
All right. So do you guys want to tackle that question or?
We might want to skip it, seeing how we can answer the question in different. Well, we'd prefer to answer the question in different ways. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also very loaded. It could go on for hours.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a quicker one. This came from Caboose back in October. You get isekai'd into 40k, but you get to choose race, faction, and unit / job. What do you do?
Ooh. Good question.
Piss easy, Bloodraven Chapter Master. Gabriel Angelos can fuck off with his Terminator flipping antics in Dawn of War 3. I want to be Master. I will steal fucking everything.
Asmo, you want to go first?
Oh, actually, might surprise you. My answer.
Ultramarine Captain.
Not that surprising. Double check. I'm gonna double check the name of the position. All right. I would say Supreme Grandmaster of the Grey Knights.
Ooh.
That would definitely be my position of choice. Obviously, race would be Space Marine, having the psychic abilities, and fighting off chaos, being amongst the Emperor's finest and chosen. Yeah, I think that would be my favorite position. It'd be one of the least safe. Period. But yeah, I'd go with the Supreme Grandmaster of the Grey Knights.
I think mine's super easy. I would be an orc and I would be a war boss because even if I'm living in a hell world that everything is war, like I'm having a grand old time.
Can I ask a qualifying question?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
When you say war boss, are we talking of a single war band of orcs, or are we talking WA?
Well, let's say. Well, we could. Well, it wouldn't really change much for me if it was a WA or if it was as a war boss of a singular clan. But, well, let's say WA.
Ooh, okay.
Then we're having a great time. Especially if it's in the, what was it called again? The Octorius War? Oh, I'm having the time of my life.
And we'll finish off with the bonus question I grabbed. And that was very mature and...
I thought you were going to say very Jewish question. The way you just led with Jew.
You?
Go on.
I have a joke I'll tell you after I click stop record. Remind me. No, I'm gonna say I'll just edit it out. It would be sodomize, marry, kill. Okay.
Oh come on, that's not that bad.
Yeah, I might leave it in. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how I am in editing. All right. So bonus. Fuck, marry, kill, and we did this before, but with different characters. We did with the Primarchs before. This time, I'm giving you guys 3 specific characters. So, fuck, marry, kill, Saint Celestine, Euphrates Keela, and Latara Saren.
Sorry.
Damn.
Sorry. What was the name of the second one?
Euphrates Keela.
Oh yeah, from the first 3 books, right?
Yeah. She's also one of the founders of the Imperial Cult, and then later the Ecclesiarchy.
Right.
Oh, I've never heard of it before. Thank you. That's a new character.
Rate the books. Alright. So who would we fuck, marry, kill? I would fuck the hell out of Latara Saren because freaking what were they called? The Warhounds, the World Eaters. Well, later becoming the World Eaters. She would not be a bad time. I would fuck the hell out of that woman. Who would I marry? Definitely Saint Celestine. If only because, well, it's freaking Saint Celestine. I want that angel pussy. And Euphrates Keeler, I guess kill, because I didn't feel that. I didn't, even in the books, I didn't really care that much about her.
Shame on you.
I know, I'm a heretic.
Can I go next?
Yeah, you can go next.
I'd marry Lotara Sin because that woman's got a set of balls on her to the point where Angron respects her, right? That is a good, formidable woman to stand by your side.
Would you become her... That's right, go ahead.
Would I become her what?
Would you become her femboy toy?
No, because I'm not a disgusting degenerate. No, we'd stand strong together, as you should in relationships. Together.
True.
True.
I'd fuck Saint Celestine because imagine fucking an angel. Imagine the level of orgasm angel pussy gets you. Like, that is a level of orgasm. I don't even think Belisarius Cole could invent, like, a sex toy with such good, lubed up sensations inside a weird fucking Imperium fleshlight. There's no way you'd be able to. And I'd kill Keeler because of the other two options. I would. I'd spare Keeler. I would spare Keeler if I could, but the other option is only kill. Like, I don't feel any indifferent towards us, so I would kill Keeler.
Okay, fair enough. Me, I'd marry Saint Celestine, fuck Saren, and kill Keela. I don't think anyone of us spared Keela.
No, but that's only because she's not, in my opinion, she's not as notable as the other two.
I mean, notable, I disagree with that, but not
How
as... So? Well, she literally created the Imperial cult. She literally helped...
Yeah, wait, no, she didn't create it, she helped.
Correct.
Saint Celestine and Lotara Sin are females on their own. But Keeler helped.
Okay, she also is
That's my reasoning.
She's also the key. Like, without her, the Imperium wouldn't exist today because she helped Nathaniel Garrow.
Have you seen the fucking Imperium today, Asmo?
Okay.
It used to be good.
Without the Imperium, correction, then. Without her, the Imperium would be nothing but chaos wastes without her. She helped Nathaniel Garrow convince Dorne of the... Well, not only convince him, but show them proof of Horus's betrayal. Without her, Imperium's fucked. From the ground up. Like, even more than it is, which is the scary part. So she can't be completely disqualified in the notability part.
No, I'm not saying completely. I'm just saying is that she helped, and plus Nathaniel Garrow did most of the fuck. His life was on the line anyway. Kayla was like, so I was looking at the Vox cast the other day, and Horus was saying some pretty mean shit about the Emps. Do you want to go tell the Emperor real quick? And Nathaniel Garrow did the actual fucking like.
No, she was with Garrow when on the ship and when they met with Dorne. You need to read Fight of the Eyes this time.
I need to get that book, man.
Keeler is not as notable as Sin and Saint Celestine.
Well, in terms of their impact in the lore, she's more important than Saren. She's more important.
Keeler is just a fucking accessory.
You're hurting me.
Yeah.
She was a side bitch to that Shad Garrow.
Okay, I can kind of give you the side bitch.
I didn't say side, I said side bitch. She ain't a hoe, but she a bitch.
I can kind of agree with the side bitch point, but in the grand scheme, she was actually more important than Saren was. That is a fact. Not as cool as Saren, I'll give you that, but importance-wise...
Exactly, not as cool, which is why I'm killing Keeler.
Fair enough.
Sarah, fucking Lotara, that's fucking brilliant. and Saint Celestine, angelic orgasms, right? But Keela, I'm sorry, if the best is she's gonna fucking do is just tell me to go do something.
Do you realize?
Ooh, fucking.
No. That's what I'm trying to tell you. She did more than that. She actually went with him. By all accounts, actually, Garrow was told to do it by Loken and others to go. She just went with his ass.
Okay, that's even fucking lame, mate. If she wasn't even the one to tell him, she was just a tag along.
Well, without her,
like,
she had the evidence.
Are you going on a fucking road trip? Come along then. Are you getting baguettes along the way?
She had the evidence to prove Horace's betrayal.
And she couldn't have just given it to fucking Garrow to go on his merry way.
It was embedded in her brain.
And they couldn't have just taken it out. She had to adamantly assert herself as big mommy dom bitch, ooh, I am so important, girl boss right now. I'm gonna go with you.
Nathan, I warn you, the lore community that have read Flight of the Eisenstein are going to kill you.
I don't give two fucking shits. Sin's better. Latara said, the person who fucking Angron respected, who is probably a quarter of his size at that time, respected. I'd much rather her than fucking Keebler cookies over here. I don't give a shit.
Wow. Just turn into the Keebler shit.
And Saint Celestine kills demons.
Well, Euphrates killed demons too.
How?
She used...
and what demons?
There were demons that appeared on Horus's flagship. After his mind was fucked with, she banished them.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What demons were they?
If I recall correctly, actually, there's artwork of it. Official artwork, too.
Show me. I want to see what demon she banished.
By the way, wasn't it after one of the characters tried to translate the stuff on... it wasn't Lorcar's head, it was Erebus?
I believe it was one of the Remembrancers, and I can't remember if it was anything to do with...
Ooh, she banished the blue horror. Ooh. Saint Celestine kills, fucking proper demons, not fucking bolt gun fodder 101 over there.
Wow.
This cast is gonna get shredded.
This is gonna be fucking fun.
The comments are... You're not the one who has to get the notifications on their phone.
Plus, what do you mean, wow, Nico? Have you seen Saint Celestine? She kills way more and way bigger demons than Keela does. Keela's a human. I can appreciate that, right? But don't compare her to Saint fucking Celestine over here. Now, Latara, yeah, but she kind of commanded a lot of respect from, the World Eaters. The hordes and hordes of World Eaters who directly served under Angron. And Angron respected her and listened to her for counsel. So you could say by proxy, she also kind of commanded them as well, as also being captain of the ship. Just saying, she kind of holds a little bit more authority.
Well then,
I wouldn't.
That's my choices.
I wouldn't say no to going on a date with her or something like that. It's just that we can give her the other two options.
The only other option is kill. I would very much like to hang out with Keela, but if the other option's kill, then I'm sorry, you don't have to kill the bitch.
Fair enough.
I mean, I would... You know what? If there was a date option to this, I would take it with Keeler. And if there was the kill option, it would be Erda.
Wouldn't that get rid of the point of marrying?
Yeah.
I know. But yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I'm letting people know where I stand.
We'll wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed our many ramblings, as always. My name has been Asmogan.
My name's been Nathan X2000.
My name has been Nico40K.
And we will see all of you lovely people next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.